Today we're over here at Grossmont High School and I'm going to show you how to use the tire change machine that we have here. Actually, we have a couple of them. The first one I want to show you guys is made by Coates. And whenever you're going to change a tire, the first thing you got to do is let all the air out. This is the tool that we use to take the core out of the valve. First thing we got to do is take the cap off. The core inside is only hand tight, but being that there's air inside the tire, it's going to want to fly out. So I need to trap it with my fingers as it comes out, because I'm going to need to put this back in. I always set all the parts up here on this tray, and that way I don't lose them. Once you get all the air out, now what we have to do is called busting the bead. This area of the tire is called the bead of the tire, and where it matches against the rim is called the bead of the rim. That's where the tire actually seals against the metal rim, and it's stretched over there. So to get it off, we have to use a press or something to push it off with. So if you guys come around to this side, on the side of the machine right here is a blade that we use. And we use this blade to push the bead off the tire. You can see I'm going to put the tire against these pads. And this blade goes as close to the rim as you can get it, but it has to be on the rubber. If you put it against someone's rim, it could potentially bend it. Once you have it set properly, it's just a matter of pushing this button up here and holding it. And if you watch, it pushes the bead right off. Now there's a bead on the back side also, so we're going to flip this around. And we're going to do the inside bead too. That's okay. Sometimes it doesn't come off all the way. We just got to reposition it and push it in a different section, and it should come right off. There we go. The other thing is, you never want to let your hands get caught in there. This machine will chop your fingers off and it won't even slow down. Once you have the beads busted, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the wheel up on this turntable and lock it in place. So there's a pedal down here called the clamps pedal. And if I step and release that pedal, if you look up here, these will expand inside the rim and lock it on the table. So let me throw this up here and we'll lock it up on the table. And now I can work on this without it moving. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring this tool head over and adjust it up against the edge of the rim. There's a locking lever right here. I want to lift this up and I'm going to push it down as hard and as tight as I can against the rim and then lock it in place. If you notice, you want to zoom in right here? If you notice, when I lock this in place, it lifts this tool head about 1/8 of an inch off the rim. And then there's an adjustment right here also. And this is going to adjust the tool head back off the rim about 1/16 of an inch once I get this thing adjusted. There we go. See it move off just a little bit? Now this tool head is not touching the rim and it shouldn't scratch it. So we're all set to go. The next thing I have to do is use this pry bar called a tire iron. This tire iron always fits right into the groove on the tool head, and I'm going to push down on the rubber and I'm going to catch the bead of the rim and stretch it over the top. Now the center of the rim is a little narrower, and that makes it easier to stretch this over. If you push this side down inside the rim, then the pry bar comes over the top really easily. And now we're going to have to rotate it. So this is another place that you want to be careful that you don't get your hands caught. We're going to hold down this rotation pedal. And if you watch up here, this tool head is going to peel the rubber right off the rim. That one's off. We still have to grab the bottom bead. So I'm going to lift up a little bit and make room over here, and it makes it much easier for me to see and to get my pry bar down in there. And then I'm going to lift and pry at the same time. And again, you see it's over the tool head, and so now I'm going to rotate, and the tool head will peel the rubber the rest of the way off. I'm done with this tire iron. I can put it back in the holster, and now we're done with this tire. You can go get a new one. Here in the auto shop, we don't always replace them with new ones. Sometimes we'll just take the same tire and put it back on for practice. Before you put it back on the rim, you want to make sure you lubricate the bead with this soapy stuff right here. Because if you tear the bead of the tire, it won't hold air anymore. And if it won't hold air, you need a new tire. So if you just went out and spent 150 bucks on a tire and you tear the bead, you may as well throw it away and spend another 150 bucks because it won't seal. A little bit of that wax fell inside there. Okay, so we always mount it from the same place where it came off from, which is this side of the machine. I'm going to put it up against the rim, and if you notice, I haven't touched the tool head adjustments at all because I'm going to swing this right in against the rim, and this is how I'm going to put the tire back on. I have to position the lower bead over the back and under the front, just like this. Once you have a position like this, you see where my hands are? I'm just going to guide the tire around while it's rotating. Rotation pedal, guide it around, the machine puts it on for you. The top bead, a little bit more effort involved, still goes over and under, but here I have to push the tire down into the center of the rim as it goes around. So I'm pushing with my hand, fist closed. You never put your hand like this, the machine will chop your fingers right off. I don't even want to keep my thumbs in there. So I ball up my fists and I push down and I rotate. And as it goes around, you'll see the tool head put the tire on over the rest of the bead here. Once I have the tire on the rim, I can take the tool head out of the way, and the last thing we need to do is we're going to use air pressure to stretch the bead over the rim. It's called seating the bead. Take your air hose over here, locks on. There's a pedal down here for air pressure. Step down to the first detent on there, and if you watch and listen, you'll probably hear this thing seat the bead. Yeah, that's one bead, that's the other bead. Seated both beads. Now I have to put the valve core back in. Remember, there's a little bit of air inside there, air pressure. So I want to set this up in the tool and hold it with my fingers. And then I just have to stick it in there and snug it down. It doesn't have to be very tight. Just with your wrist is good enough. And now a passenger car tire typically has 32 pounds of air, so I'm going to put this back on here. I'm going to air the tire up to 32 pounds. We have a gauge right here. I have about 5 pounds in there right now. This cycles back and forth. So to actually see the pressure in there, you have to take your foot off the pedal. So right now we have about almost 20. We're shooting for 32. You notice it says over here, never exceed 40 PSI, because the tire can burst. Okay, we're about 35, that's a little too much. There's a bleed valve right here. So I can bleed off the air pressure until I get it exactly where I want it. And I want this one at 32 PSI. That's pretty close. Perfect, right there. So I can take my hose off, hang it back up here. And all you have to do now is step and release the clamp pedal. And we can take our wheel over to be balanced. Okay, here we are over at our wheel balancer. You always have to balance a wheel after you put a new tire or change the position of the tire on here. Tires are made out of molten rubber, and when they pour it into a mold and it solidifies, sometimes you have a slightly thicker spot, and that makes for a little heavy spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out where those heavy spots are, and we're actually going to counterbalance it with a weight on the opposite side. So before I mount this on the machine, the first thing I want to do is take off all the old weights. And there's a tool right here to take those off. You just pry on them. And we reuse these weights. So throw it up on the table over here. We'll use it on another tire maybe. When you go to mount this onto the machine, you have to center it up on this shaft. And there are several different cones that you can use. So you want a cone that fits in the center, but it doesn't fall through. That one's too small. That one's too big. Hopefully there's one in the middle. That's the one I want. The cone goes about halfway in, and that's about the position I want. So this cone is going to go on first. Then the wheel is going to go on facing outward. And then we're going to use this plastic cone, which protects the rim from getting damaged, and this large wing nut. You always tighten this by hand. You never hit it with a hammer or use any kind of a tool on here, because this is a computer. And if you hit it with a hammer, you might break it. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this by hand, as tight as you can make it. And then being that this is a computer, we have to enter a few pieces of information in here. The first piece of information it's asking you is how far is the rim from the machine. And so there's an arm with a measuring tape on it. We're going to bring this out and put the tip of this arm right in the bead of the rim. And then if you just look at the largest number on here, that's about 149. That's the number we're going to enter in here. 149. The next number is asking you how wide is the rim. There's a tool right here called a set of calipers. We're going to put these tips in the beads of the rim on both sides. And then we're just going to read the tool, which says 7 inches. So the next number we put in here is 7. The last number has to do with the size of the tire. It's actually the diameter of the rim. And so that's printed in the size of the tire on the side right here in the rubber. So if you spin this around and we find the tire size, it's a series of 3 numbers right here. Sorry, it took me a minute to see it. So I can try and clean that off a little bit. The first number, the P215, is how wide the tread is. The 60 means that this sidewall is 60% of the width of the tread. And the last number after the R16, that's the diameter of the rim, and that's what we want to enter in here. 16. Now we're all set to go. So there are safety features built into every piece of equipment that we use here in the auto shop. When you close the lid on this, called the hood, when you close the hood, this is going to spin at about 60 miles an hour, and the machine is going to tell me where to put the counterbalance, counterweights. If this ever came off here at 60 miles an hour and you were standing anywhere near it, it'd run you right over and probably kill you. So there's a little safety feature built into this. If you close this down, see what it says here? Loose. That means the wing nut is loose on there. So just lift the hood back up and tighten it real snug by hand and try it again. And if it's tight, it won't read loose. What it's going to do is it's going to give us some numbers, the amount of weight that we should add in ounces. So on the inner side, inner edge, we need to add 2 ounces, and on the outer edge, 1 ounce. So how do you know where to put the weight? Well, if you see this bar, if the tire is rotated 180 out, that bar has like a ghost flash to it. Bring it around till it's solid, and then line it up with this arrow right here. When that arrow turns green, you're going to look right here at this molded line in the machine's housing and eyeball straight up. That's where the weight's going to go. So let me grab a 2 ounce weight and I'll be right back. I have my 2 ounce weight. I have the tire set up in the exact location. All I need to do is eyeball straight up. This same tool that we use to remove the weights also has a hammer head on it to hammer them on. The only thing you got to be careful is that you don't nail your own fingers. Hammer that one on all the way. We're going to put the outer weight on next. So I'm going to rotate the tire until I get that solid line with the green arrow. And then if you come over here, there's a little dot right in the center of this shaft, and if you just go straight up from there, that's where the weight goes. So right here, straight up. Keep my thumb out of the way. Make sure that's hammered on all the way so it doesn't fly off. And then the last thing we want to do is make sure we put the weights in the correct place. So I'm going to spin it again, and if these come up all 0, that means it's perfectly balanced and ready to go back on the car. Oh, I love it when I'm successful at my job at school. Awesome. So with a 0 balance on both sides, it's ready to go back on the car. You can break the wing nut loose with one hand while you hold the tire. If something in the shop is too heavy for you, because we do work on some really large tires in here, there's a lot of people around. You can ask them for help. Lower this thing down and we're ready to go put it on the car. Okay, this is a brand new, well, I shouldn't say brand new, it's about a 4-year-old tire change machine. The design on this one allows you to, this machine will lift the wheel for you. A lot of mechanics get injured, they get back injuries from lifting really heavy stuff. So machine manufacturers have come out with tools now that will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So you want to make sure the outside of the tire is always pointed to the outside. And there's a pedal here that lifts it up for you. You can roll it along this little track And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it down on this table with this pin in one of the lug nut holes. And it, you know, you can move it around so it fits all different size rims. So I'm just going to slide this over, lower it down, shoot for that pin in the hole. I got it. Next thing I want to do is I want to try and center the center of the rim with the hole in the center of the table, because we're going to use this locking mechanism to hold the wheel on the table for us. So you have to push down and rotate it 90 degrees and then pull on it to make sure it's locked in. This has a little slip connection on it, so you don't have to screw it all the way down. You can slide it down to the rim, it grabs again, and you just snug it. Now, this is what we consider a low profile tire. This tire size right here is a 245/40/17. And like I told you on the other tire we looked at, the first number, 245, is how wide the tread is. The second number is called the aspect ratio, which is how tall the sidewall is. And this tire is only 40% of the entire tread tall, which is pretty narrow edge of the tire. And then the rim, the last number on here is a 17. The rim is 17 inches. So just like any tire machine, when you want to change a tire, you have to take the air out first. So I'm going to use my little tool to remove the core. Be right back. Same tool we used before. Just unscrew the core out of there. And if there's some air pressure, which I think this tire has some air in it, I'm gonna have to grab that so it doesn't fly out of there. And then I set all this stuff over on the tray right here. That way I don't lose it. A little different, the controls for this are up above. We still have to bust the beads though before we take the rubber off the rim. And so these wheels right here are what's gonna remove the rubber off the rim for us or break the beads. All the controls are right here. So what I want to do is I want to bring the upper roller close to where the tire is located. And then I need to adjust it. It just happened that it landed in the right spot. But I want to make sure that this wheel is on the rubber, not on the rim, and this little tail should be on the rim. So if I need to adjust it, there's a lever right here. You push this button to unlock it, and I can move the tool head or the wheel in or out and fine tune it to exactly where I need it, which is right there. What we're going to do next is we're going to bring that upper roller just down a little bit so it starts to push the bead off, and we're going to get it to it's under the rim, and then right here is a button called indent the roller. And I'm going to press this indent upper roller, and I want you guys to see what happens. When I press that button, once you have the upper roller against the tire on here, we're actually going to bring it down a little bit below the edge of the rim. And there's a button over here that says indent upper roller. And so if you watch what happens, it's going to push the roller forward so that it's under the rim. Now that the roller is under the rim, I can start to rotate. There's a pedal down here to rotate. And as I rotate, I'm going to slowly bring the upper roller down, down, down until the entire bead is broken. You guys will see what I mean here. So start rotating. I'm going to slowly bring that wheel down. You can see it's pushing the bead off the rim, and it's completely pushed the bead off the rim. Now I'm done. I can get that tool head out of the way. And now I have to do the same thing with the lower bead. And so we're going to bring this lower roller up into the same position, and you really have to kneel down to make sure that you're doing this properly. I want to bring it up here, in this case above the rim slightly, and then indent the lower roller up at the control panel. If you guys watch, you'll see. And now I can start to rotate again, and this time I'm going to bring that roller up a little bit at a time. And it's going to slowly remove the bead off the edge of the rim there, and it looks like I got it all the way off. I can get that out of the way now. We're going to switch tools now. We're going to use this tool. It's called tool head. We're going to bring this down into the rim, and it's going to hook the rubber back here, and it's going to pull the rubber off for us. When you use the tool head, you want to make sure that you lube up the bead real nice over here. And I always put a little bit of this soapy wax onto the tool head. Control panel over here will bring the tool head down for us. And I'm going to push it all the way inside. Whoops. This has to go on the outside. Then I have to start again. I have to move this back a tiny bit, I think. And I need to rotate this thing so it falls in there. It'll probably work a lot better, right? The next step is to bring the tool head down, and if you watch, you'll see I'm going to bring it all the way down inside the tire. It's going to hook the bead. There it goes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and bring the bead over the top of the rim with the tool head. Just like that. And we want the rim to sit right in this groove on the tool head. You can see the tires up above. And now if we start to rotate, it should start to remove the rubber from the rim. There we go. Got that outer bead off. Now we're going to use the tool head to help us lift the tire up. I want to bring the tire up against the, I want to bring the lower bead up against the top bead. Just like that. And now I'm going to bring my lower roller up and peek it through here. You'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, you see it peeking through? And then I want to indent it so that it's actually underneath there. Like that. And now I'm going to rotate. It's going to take it right off. And that's it. Get the tool head out of the way. We can pretend to go get our new tire. And we can put our practice tire back on. So you always want to lube it up with some of this waxy soap. This has a ton of soap on here already. And then on this machine, the tire always goes on from the back because we're going to use this tool head to reinstall the tire. So I'm going to bring the tool head down till the top edge of the rim is right in that groove where it's supposed to be. Right there. And like the other machine, you have to get the rubber bead over the back and under the front. And you might have to come over here to see it. Just like that right there. And then I'm just going to guide the tire slightly with my hands while I rotate. Remember to keep your fingers out of here. Sometimes with all the soap on there, it tends to slip, and that's why you have to use your hands a little bit to help it. Upper bead, the same thing. Have to get it over and then under. But this time I'm not going to use my hands. I'm going to use this little pole right here. It's called a ram. And I'm going to push the rubber down with the ram. And now when I rotate, I'm going to keep my hand up here, and I'm just going to guide this around. And it's going to put the tire right on. Sometimes you have to relocate this over here and push down again. And it goes on the rest of the way. Back on, I can get all my tools out of the way. Push them back in, out of the way. The last thing we need to do is use air pressure to seat the bead. There's an air hose right here, and there's a foot pedal down below. Make sure this is locked on. Give it a little air down below here. And if you watch or listen, you'll hear the beads pop on. There we go. Top bead. I didn't hear the bottom one, but it slid right on. There's so much soapy wax on here, it slid right on. Once we have the bead seated, we're going to put our valve core back in. I like to set that up in my fingers because there's going to be some air pressure in here. And go ahead and snug that in there so we don't have any air leaking. And then again, this particular tire being a low profile, it gets 35 pounds of air pressure in it. And there's also a gauge here. Just hold the pedal down. Okay, we're about a pound too high on here. This hose is leaking a little bit. So there's a little bleed off valve over here too if you need to adjust the pressure. There we go. We can bleed this down to 35 if we need to. And that's it. Once we have it filled with proper air pressure, you can disconnect your air hose. Please hang it back up right here. When you go to take this off, you could unscrew the whole thing, but it's simpler if you just pull the handle like that, slide it up, push down in the center, counterclockwise, 90 degrees, lift it out. Please put it back in its holster. And then we're not going to lift the tire off of here, you guys. We're going to use the machine to lift it off. And so if you notice, there's very little physical effort to get this done. The machine does all the work for me. And now it's ready to be balanced.
There it is, right there. There's the nail. That's a nail. That's a problem. We could fix that. So here's the nail. Okay. So first thing we got to do is take out the Schrader valve. So we're going to insert this in here, and we got to deflate the tire, right?
Amen, Jackson.
Yeah.
Hammer Jackson.
Valve out. Take it up here. Let it hiss. Okay, hit stop. All right, so now we got to break the bead on the rim. This is my bead breaker. I'm going to put that right on the inside of the rim. And then I'm going to step on this pedal right here. And that's going to break the bead by pulling this in. And go a little deeper. There we go. And you want to do it 4 places. So 2 on each side, preferably. There we go. That's that side. Like this. Got that. And one more. Okay, go ahead and mount it. Tell me when. Okay. So this is to expand, and this is to bring it in. So I'm going to put this onto here, and I'm just going to one touch it, so it mounts this rim. I have a wheel weight here, so I need to remove that wheel weight. So we don't want to rip her bead pulling over the weight. And now I'm going to make sure there's no other wheel weights underneath. I don't feel one. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to bring hit that. And that brings this over. This is the arm. This moves in and out. This moves up and down. So put it right on the edge of the rim. Pull it down and then hit this button. And now it's locked. So we could pull this off. And it'll come off. And then I can hit it again. It'll come back on. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to grab a tire spoon. And I'm going to bring this lip up and over this bump. So I'm going to put this in. I'm going to bring this up and over. Like that. And then I'm going to actually spin it. Perfect. Okay. Lift it up again. Reach down that bottom bead, so we gotta go all the way down, come on this side. And it needs to be underneath right here. Okay? So now I can pull that bottom bead up and over to come on this side. And it should be up and over that edge right there. And then we're gonna spin it. Okay? And then remove this. Okay, so here's the nail. Let's see what it looks like. And there it is inside. Easy. Okay, so open this up. We have wire cutters. We have a drill with a reamer. We have glue. We have patches and we have a buffing wheel, 2 different buffing wheels that we can use. The first step is we're going to go ahead and grab this wire cutter. We're actually going to grab that nail and try to pull it through. There we go. There's the nail. Okay. Now we grab the drill with the reaming drill bit. We're going to go right here. Now we're going to use a buffing wheel. Okay. There it is right there. Okay, so we could use buffing wheels, but this is actually a buffer too. So this is meant to scuff the tire, and it's also meant to, when you have the patch on, to knead out all the air. So this is a special tire tool for buffing and for pressing out the air. We don't need that. We're just going to do it the way we've always done it. So now I need my patch plug right here. I need some glue. Lay a layer of glue down. Nice, good layer. Okay, I'm going to take my patch. I'm going to peel off the rubber. And then I'm going to take glue and I'm going to put it on the patch itself and on the part that we're going to pull through. So now we're going to find that hole. This is the tricky part. We're going to find that hole. There it is. And we're going to actually pull this through. So now bring it down. And I want to feel the inside, making sure it gets contact. And I'm going to pull. And you can see it's flush. Okay, so now you get the little reamer and kind of ream that through. And I'm going to put another coat of glue on it too, on the top. Okay, so we're going to cut this off, pull it up. Okay, that's nice. Nice inside. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab some of this. I'm going to put this on the bead right here. Do it on both sides. Okay. I also like to put a little bit on here. Yeah, so we're ready. All right. So the reason why I put the mark here is because that tells me that was on the outside. So I'm going to put this on, bring this over. We're going to put it over this and under this. So over, under, and then spin it. And go over, under, and actually I'm going to use this, guys, this arm, because I want to make sure that we don't mess it up. Bring this over, down. I'm going to slide this right next to the rim. Okay. Over, under this side. Okay. And then spin it. Right. Spin it, and this should get it going right on. To remove this, you're going to actually bring it up, hit this button, okay, and we're going to move this arm out. Take our air pressure, we're going to put it right here. There's a lever to inflate it. There's 2 levels. There's just a low level and a high level, so I'm going to actually go high. So I'm going to step on. Nope. Yep, it's going. So now, there we go. Never put your fingers near these edges.
right here, right?
Yep. Inflate it to 30. And I want to get my Schrader valve. Put this on. Perfect. And there's soapy water on the back of the balancer, Jesus. Oh, Jose? Right there, that little water bottle. And let's water bottle it. And
Good.
we're good? Yeah. And we gotta balance this stuff. So I need to figure out the hub size for this. So I'm gonna take this tool and I'm gonna go to the inside and figure out what size I need. And it looks like I need a white. And so now I'm gonna go over to here. I'm gonna grab my white dowel right here. And there's two sides to it. So I'm gonna find the one that fits the best side. Okay, this is the best side. Now we'll roll over here. I want to make sure there's not already a hub on here, because too many people are putting double hubs on and it jams this. So always remove the hub from the prior group. Put this on. I'm going to take my tire, I'm going to lift it up. Put this on. The wing nut with the cone, and we're going to run this down. Okay, I give it a little tap and then I spin it, making sure this tire is not doing this. It needs to be rolling nice and straight, because the machine won't let you balance it if it's wobbling. Okay, now up here we got to do this measurement first, then this one, then this one. When we could do that, then we could balance. So the first measurement is this tool. I want to take this, I'm going to put it all the way over to the inside of the rim, not the edge, a little bit on the inside, and then step on the lever. That now is adjusted this measurement. The second measurement is the rim width. That's these jaws. I'm going to just go right here, put it on the inside and on the inside, same as the other one. And read the dial, and it's 5.5. So I can move this dial right here to 5.5. So that's done. The next one, you just read the tire size. So I'm going to look for the actual tire size, and here it is right here. It's a P185/60R15, and the number we want to see is after the R, and that's the rim size. It's a 15. So I go back here, and I'm going to roll this dial back to 15. And now we're ready to balance. Lower the lid. Tell us what weights we need. We need a 75 on the left and a 175 ounce on the right. What color weight, or what kind of weight we need to use. So I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to measure my rims and look for the one that fits the best. That looks really good. A TN gray, maybe a black. We could go with a black or a gray. I'll go with a black. But you can see they're all meant for all different types of weights. So I'm going to need the black P. So let's go over to the wheel weight bin. And here's the P. It's the black. We need a 75. And we need a 175. Okay, now we're ready. Let's go do our... Okay, so we want to do the side first that has the green arrow. So the green arrow, not this side, but this one, that's the 75 ounce. I'm going to take my wheel weight pliers and I'm going to come over. I always like reaching over a tire. You line the tire up with this little white line right here, and you go straight up, dead center, and you hammer that in. To get it to go to the other side, just push the tire until the green arrow comes in. Oh. You know what? I probably moved the machine too much. So if that does it, which will happen, I'm just going to rebalance it and it will recorrect itself. And if you look, I did get the first one right. So excellent. What I was trying to show you was if it's not on center, this machine will automatically center it for you, and that's what it should have done. Now I grab my 175. I'm going to go over this side. I'm going to go straight up like this. Dead center, 12 o'clock position. Put that in, and now I'm hoping to see zeros. And I'm seeing zeros. I never want to see double weights. If you have to use 2 weights, you did something wrong. It should only be 1 weight per side.